Hello, everyone, and welcome to our third episode of the podcast Beards and Games. I'm Ko, joined once again by Brax.
How you guys
And
doing?
our today's topic is actually World of Warcraft once again, but we're gonna go very creative this time. And we briefly scratched the topic in the last episode when it came to what would be a World of Warcraft Viking class. And we talked about how the runes that are used by Death Knights, for example, as a resource, are directly linked to the Viking-like race called the Vrykul. And our idea was, okay, so there are elements in World of Warcraft that are definitely based on Vikings. And there isn't a Viking themed class within the game for many reasons. But we just want to go creative this time and be like, okay, if we had all the power and all the money in the world and Ian Hasekostas is like, let's just do it, what would our idea be? And there are a few key things we have to just go through as some sort of like a checklist to make sure we have the foundation for the class set up. And the first thing we have to go for is, what armor type would you use? We have 4 different options. We have plate, mail, leather, and cloth. Brax, what would be your preferred armor type?
Leather and mail for them.
You can't mix.
100%.
It has to be one.
Mail. Let's say mail.
I would actually agree with
It's basically like if you look at the historical stuff, what they wore actually is a bit of mix and match there with leather and a little bit of plating, mail, metal, whatever it was, right? So it's like a mix of those. So I would say like mail would be the closest to it. It's light and durable at the same time. So considering the movements and stuff that basically they did, it's very, very viable in my opinion.
I would agree. I don't think leather would be enough. Cloth definitely isn't. It's more like a caster thing for at least in World of Warcraft terms. And plate just seems too heavy. Just not. Yeah. I don't associate plate armor like the knights had them in medieval times with Vikings. It just doesn't fit. It wouldn't look good anyways as well.
No. I would, however, consider leather. Because if you would make like a, I don't know, berserker type of character, right? They were really lightly geared in a way. Some of them were actually shirtless, just wearing the wolf's head and stuff like that. I don't know. It's just berserker in a way, it's a little bit different. But yeah, I would go with leather for them for sure, because they were known to be very, very agile and very fast in their movements and fighting and everything. So, the cat again. Give me a sec.
Oh boy.
So yeah, leather would be a thing.
So there are a lot of outfits and armor sets within all the other different armor types that don't look a lot like the armor type itself. So you still have a lot of mail armor within the game that looks like plate armor. Then you have a lot of mail armor that looks like leather armor. You also have a lot of plate armor that looks like a mail armor. So I guess you have a lot of options.
Range there, yeah.
You have a lot of visual options when it comes to like designing the armor, but the base armor type would be mail.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah,
Okay.
100%.
Uh, then you have three different main stats: strength, agility, and intellect. Intellect, obviously not, that's for caster stuff.
No,
They have strength or agility as a main stat.
but that's a good question.
Both would work. Both would work. That is,
Both are extremely viable
yeah.
for a Viking class. Extremely. So agility is a big thing with the Vikings because they were known to be fast and really light on their feet, and movement wise they were really good. I mean, that's considering the martial arts that are there now, like trying to get as close as possible to the Viking type of fighting, right? There's actually a guy in Norway, I think, that teaches like axe fighting and stuff like that, like or Nordic martial arts. So agility would be a good thing, but also strength, yeah. And that's why it's that's a really good question. But I would probably go more with agility.
The thing with the main stat here is that we don't necessarily have to decide on just one. A good example is druids, for example, use different main stats for their different specs.
Sure.
So if we decide to give that Viking class different specs, which we basically have to, there is no class within World of Warcraft that only has one spec. There is at least two for every class. Even Demon Hunter has two. We could
Strength and agility, yeah.
yeah, we could come up with an idea for a spec that uses strength and then one for that uses agility. That definitely works. I just don't see. I mean, if you go really creative, there might be a way to incorporate intellect as well, but I mean that has to be very specific and probably too hard to pull off.
Maybe not, because if you're looking at 3 specs, for example, right? You could make one as a healing spec. If you could go in a shaman type of way. Because shaman is as well like very agile, very fast, but it also heals in a way.
Yeah, at least it can. Yeah.
But if you look at it, a Viking would be close to a shaman in a way.
At least,
you know.
Yeah, I'm not really in a World of Warcraft sense. In a general sense, definitely, but World of Warcraft has all the elements tied to a shaman, and a Viking isn't really known for using the elements. At least not in that way a shaman does, so I guess
a little differently, yeah.
It could work as well. Okay, so we can leave that for later when we actually talk about the specs. So we got the armor type, we got the possible options for a main stat. What race would... Okay, no, if we can't really go for race first. What faction first? That is easier.
Oh.
I mean, we brainstormed it before.
Yeah, but they would fit in both factions, to be honest.
That is the problem. Yeah, they would fit in both factions. So they would be a second faction that a second class that is not yet tied to race, but that class can exist in both factions. So
I would say like predominantly I would do an alliance one, because I don't see a Pandaren Viking.
Pandaren can be both alliance and horde, so
yeah, I know, but you know, it's kind of, it wouldn't fit in a way. But or an orc Viking, maybe a berserker, you know. But it's kind of weird. But I I would definitely go with a Valajar or something. For sure.
If the race would exist as a playable
Yeah.
race, that would definitely fit. Yeah,
But otherwise, the most fitting would be human variant of it. But they would fit in both factions, as I said, because they are ruthless, like the Horde, but they are also honorable, like the Alliance. So it's a bit of a mix and match there. If I would have to choose one, that's a really, really tough question. If I would have to choose one, I would probably go with the Alliance. But for the best part, I think the most fitting would be like the option as the Pandaren. So you could choose like left or right. That would be the best option for it. But considering they're predominantly human and they are connected to Valajar and stuff like that, I think it's better that they stay on the blue side of things.
You're gonna get slaughtered in the comments, by the way, for
for
saying the Alliance is honorable when the entire theme of the Horde is honor. And oh boy,
yeah,
I did not say that.
That's also true. Yeah,
I did not say that. Okay, so as we said in the last episode, the Rykul are directly linked to 3 races: humans, the dwarves, and the gnomes. So, okay, yeah, I can see Alliance being more favorable for this. There are also quite a lot of options on the Horde side for going that way. So let's just brainstorm. What race could be that Viking? Alliance side, your go.
more Viking.
No, what race could be a Viking on Alliance side?
By the mindset, I would definitely go with dwarves. By the mindset.
Okay.
By the thinking, by the I don't know, just the general demeanor of them is
True.
a little bit more looser, but predominantly humans.
Okay.
100%.
So, just give me every race that would be able to pick Viking as the class on Alliance side.
Like on both sides, or just Alliance side?
Just Alliance for now.
Oh, dwarf and human. I wouldn't go further than that.
Okay. I could see myself.
Dwarf, human, and the new one. What's it called? The Kalteran should fit, as well.
Okay.
I forgot about the Kalterans.
If you put the Kultirans in, you have to also put in definitely the Dark Iron Wars.
Oh yeah.
You have to put them in as well, even though it doesn't really make any sense since they lived inside their little mountain for a lot of time. So yeah, there has to be a Dark Iron Dwarf that once stepped out into the land and actually discovered this fighting style and was like, I'm gonna be like that. Kultirans are the same in that regard. I mean, they live on their islands and they never really ventured out. I mean, we never really saw many Kultirans out in the open world like the Eastern Kingdoms or Kalimdor before BFA came out. So
yeah, but now they are. That's the thing.
Now they are.
So they usually learn from one another anyway, So if they're connected now, it could be an option to put it in. Basically,
if you pick humans, you could also make an argument for Worgen, since they are humans.
Yeah.
Since they are humans before they get transformed. So, since the transformation happens in the adult life of a human, you could just make it so it fits into the lore as the human that gets transformed into your Worgen was once out in the world and discovered this and learned it and returns home and then gets bitten because the plague is still ongoing there. So would also work. A bit far-fetched probably, but at least it's logical.
It's still there, yeah.
Night Elf doesn't work. I don't
Nope.
think so. It would. No, it would definitely not. Gnomes wouldn't work as well. Void Elves definitely don't work. Mecha Gnomes don't work.
Nope.
So, and Pandaren don't work.
Neither do the Draenei. That's
Oh yeah, the Draenei and the Lightforged Draenei. Yeah, I mean no, it doesn't. No, it really doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
The
So on the-
Lightforged Draenei even less. I mean, they live on a starship.
But what about the what about the Horde side?
Okay.
What do you think?
Orc.
Yes.
Sure. If I go directly with a counterpart of the allied race, Magar Orc would not work because they are a time traveling race. They are brought back to your time through a time scenario with the Bronx Dragonflight. So they never even saw that Viking fighting style simply because they were on Draenor, and on Draenor you don't have anything that remotely resembles anything Viking. So Magar Orcs couldn't be that. Tauren would work, but direct counterpart, the Zandalari trolls would not work again. Because, well, island. They lived on their island, Zandalar, and never experienced anything like that. Tauren would work. The High Mountain Tauren would also work. Simply because they are very close to anything Viking, simply because High Mountain is directly is right next to Stormheim, so okay, there is a direct connection to it. What else do you have? Oh god, I'm not at all. Undead.
You forgot Undead would probably 100% work because
they
lured around, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you could have just been a human that learned it and then you died.
Yeah.
That's it. And what else? Do you have the goblins? No, I wouldn't. No, goblins are originally
blood
from
elves,
their islands. No, that wouldn't work.
You have the blood elves as well.
Blood elves are difficult. They weren't closed off. I mean, they are on their islands.
They were part of the Alliance once.
Yeah, until they got kicked out.
Yeah, but I think by their way of thinking, they would consider it as a barbaric thing. So maybe they wouldn't consider it at all. You know, we have our warriors and paladins. Why would we need? You know, I think that would be the thinking of the Blood Elves. I don't know, but
interestingly enough, Blood Elves weren't able to be a warrior originally. They added that later. You only had paladin on a paladin, on a Blood Elf. Okay, so it could work in a sense of they would have the option to acquire that knowledge and skill, but they just don't consider it by their social standards.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so those are the base races, and then we have the Nightborn. No, the Nightborn wouldn't work. No,
I mean they were close to it. I think there's a village right next to their city.
I mean, you have the entirety of Zuramar, but Zuramar, first of all, is under a dome, and they have to live very close to any mana resources, otherwise they just die. And there is nothing really mana related within the Viking themed parts. I mean, you have stuff like the Oculus, the Forge, the Soul Forge, I think it was called, the dungeon-like thingy. So you have a few mana themed things, but I'm not really sure if that would actually work. And
I don't think it would.
even if they would have all the means of surviving outside of their city, they have been like closed off to everything around them for years and years on end. So I'm not really sure that anyone actually ventured out and thought it's just explore the world simply because they were so afraid of dying outside. So no, I don't think Nightborn would be a good thing.
They wouldn't fit, yeah.
Okay, so at least one.
So.
I think I forgot one allied race. You have the the Nightborn, Magar Orcs, the High Mountain oh, there's another Trolls, but am I forgetting one? You're the Horde player more.
Goblins.
No, the Goblins are base race. There are 5. I think that you have the Mechanomes, the Light Forged, the Quilterans, the
Dark
Void
Eyed
Elves. Oh no, it's 4. Okay, so we have 4 on Horde and 4 on Alliance. Okay, that works. Yeah, okay, so we're done. So, let's just recap. Alliance. Humans, Dwarves. Dark Iron Dwarves.
And the Worgens?
The Worgen. The Quilterans.
Oh, the Quilterans, yeah.
Okay, that's 5 for Alliance. And on Horde you have Orc, Troll, Tauren, High Mountain Tauren, and that was that.
Undead.
Undead, yeah. Okay. So it's 5 for each. That's actually pretty fair. And also give a lot of options. So it's not as limited as Demon Hunter, for example, with just one race for that class. Or the upcoming new class, Evoker, which is tied to Dragfear, so you can't be an Evoker without being a dragon, and you can't be a dragon without being an Evoker. That's
funny enough, I probably won't play that. funny
I'm not really
enough.
into casters as well, so yeah. I mean, not in that type of caster. Okay, so we got the race, we got the armor type, we got possible main stats. So that's like the basics done. You are able to create a Viking themed class.
Yeah.
Now we get to the gameplay, and that's where it gets really, really interesting because there's so many options we could go down. And okay, I would give their main resource a name. I would make it a builder spender spec. So basically, like, I don't know, a warrior, a demon hunter,
like rage and stuff, you mean?
That's the issue. There, rage as a resource would be a fitting thing for Viking, but you can't do that. So rage is for warriors, and you have fury for demon hunters. My next idea was to take the resource from the Crusaders from Diablo 3 and implement it there, and they have Wrath. But as soon as you read Wrath and you play Diablo 3 before, you always associate that with the Crusaders, and the Crusader is not a Viking. I was like, what would you name the resource?
Oh man.
That is probably one of the most difficult things for now, and we're only just about 20 minutes in. So
the resource. I mean, yeah, as you said, Wrath works, Rage works, but you can't use those.
Yeah. Anger doesn't really work. I mean, we already settled on a theme. It has to be something that is you would describe as rage or fury or being angry or something. So that we already settled on the theme without even settling on the theme because it is directly linked to the Vikings. It's so strongly linked already that we didn't even think of anything else. So this It is a pretty difficult thing. And just... And also, how would that resource work? Is it just building up with attacks like a rage is doing? Or is it working like energy?
What about frenzy?
Frenzy? Okay, since most mechanics double and triple down over all the Blizzard games, there is something...
it's basically another name for, you know...
there is something that is linked to Frenzy, and that is an ability from the Barbarian from Diablo 2 and Diablo 3, which was a really fast attack that stacked up even higher to increase your attack speed. So, I mean... It's a shame that we actually have to think about something like that, because there used to be classes that didn't really have a resource to begin with. It was just hit buttons. I mean, Red Paladin and Wrath of the Lich King was like that. You just hit buttons, you didn't really have a resource. Holy Power was first introduced in Cataclysm. So that was a class that didn't really have a class resource besides mana, but that was baseline for every paladin. So that wasn't an issue. Shame we can't really go there, because just it doesn't have to have a resource. Just having cooldowns on your abilities would work just fine. But nowadays everything needs to have a resource for I don't know what reason. Doesn't really make any sense.
Everything needs a resource. Yeah, it's kind of I mean, the things that are already used, and by Blizzard standards, the warrior should be the Viking.
Yeah.
You know, as we saw that, you know, with Odin's Hall and stuff. So that's kind of, you know, kind of tricky, because the warrior has a lot of things that the Viking should have. Also the decay.
Yep, with the runes.
Yeah, so the runic power is also a good thing to implement on a Viking.
Yeah.
So need to think about this one. This is actually, you know, a really hard topic. Actually, this what would you call it?
It's
Frenzy is one thing. Rage is also a really good one, but you can't use that.
It's very difficult. I mean, for example, if you stick
can you implement different things for different specs?
Yes,
for example, you can.
They do that.
So if you do, let's try and focus which specs we should do, and then implement the
resource. Okay, that is also a good approach. Okay, so my first idea for a spec is a DPS spec that uses two-handed weapons. And only specific two-handed weapons. An axe would work. I think a mace would work, because hammers, they were also known for using hammers. A pole arm is already a pretty difficult thing. I'm not really sure, because a pole arm involves more than just a spear. I mean, they use spears obviously, but they if you go with all the skins you have available, a pole arm would also be a halberd, which was mostly used by medieval knights. So
that's not an option.
that is already getting quite difficult. And then again, two-handed swords.
No, I wouldn't say that. More of a one-handed thing, and if there would be a two-handed thing, it would definitely be an axe.
Yeah,
I don't see Vikings using two-handed swords. like long
Yeah.
long blades. I don't think there was any find of that at all. So the Scots use that, and they are like
Yeah.
generations after the Vikings, but they are, essentially
You know, everyone
same
knows
thing in a way.
Braveheart. Freedom.
Yeah. That thing.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
wouldn't implement the freedom thing in the
Uh,
the Viking.
but there's already the first problem that is very, very limiting in weapon choices. Only have like 2 sets of
One-handed, let's say one-handed weapons.
Okay, so if we just
For sure.
okay, so we leave this. So we have 2-handed axe, 2-handed maces. I would say we have to get in pole arms as well, simply because you can't really have only 2 weapon options. Spears work as well.
In a spear, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, pole arms are used by many different specs as well. Like Red Paladin, for example, can use a pole arm as well. It doesn't really make sense because you probably never see a Red Paladin with a spear, but they kind of use it like a normal two-handed weapon. So if you do use your Crusader Strike or your Templar's Verdict, they do slashing animations most of the time, and you don't really slash with a spear. That's not the point of a spear. So yeah, good joke there. That's not the point of the spear. Okay. I mean, come on, it's early morning. We're getting creative. That was probably the brightest moment I will have my entire day. So yeah.
I would say, like, if you go for specs, I would definitely have one with a fighting thing that, like you said, like a dual wielding or a 2-handed weapon kind of thing. That would probably be like a berserker type of spec. I would probably name it that, like a berserker spec.
Could work. That since that is not a spec name that has been used, you do have something. Sometimes you have stuff that is has berserker in its name, like the warrior has a buff called Berserker's Rage that makes him immune to sleep, fear, and a charm effect.
I gotta write this down.
I'm gonna write this down.
I'm gonna write this down. I'm gonna send it to Blizzard. If you want to get me back and play the game, you have to implement this. Kidding.
Okay.
So specs. We have one that is dual wielding or
dual wielding works, and one for two-handed, one for dual wielding. You're already settled on the amount of specs, even though we earlier considered having something like a healer, but you're already like, I need just 2, just give me 2. I don't care.
Okay. I say 3.
Okay.
I say 3, but that would be like I would say like a DPS spec.
Yeah.
What's it called again? Healer spec.
Okay.
For sure. And a tank spec. That's what I would
necessarily want a tank spec.
Why
I
not?
don't really associate Vikings with tanks. Vikings are just throw them in there and let them kill stuff. Don't get hit in the face.
But I want to implement the shield.
Okay.
Or, so that's kind of...
Okay, so let's start with a DPS thing. We have to settle.
Yeah, okay.
Two-handed or dual wield?
One or the other?
It has to be one or the other. No,
one or the other.
Both would create. If we had to implement both, we have to go down the route of Frost Decay, and Frost Decay has 2 playstyles that.
Yes.
One has two-handed weapons and one has dual wield, but the problem there is the playstyle that is used for the two-handed weapons can also be played with a dual wield spec, but the main dual wield build can't really be played with a two-handed weapon. So if we want to mix within the DPS spec, we have to consider that, and no way in hell am I gonna do that now. This will absolutely go way beyond the 1 hour mark of the podcast, and we would have to make another episode just for the DPS spec, so one or the other. And in that case, I would actually go dual wield. It has more options. You would have swords, axes, maces. So daggers are out. Fist weapons? What do you say about fist weapons?
No.
Okay, so we at least have 3 weapon choices. So that's it. That would work.
I would go with dual wielding, but considering that your spec is a berserker, I mean, yeah, it could work because they were known to, be good with every weapon.
I mean, you have to give some options. Like you can't really. You have to consider how loot works in World of Warcraft, and if you give only 2 weapon options to a spec, it is very, very limiting, and you just have to design items and place them onto bosses that probably have already a lot of weapon drops, and you have to give them extra weapon drops simply because the Vikings would be very limited, and that would probably it will also inflate the amount of loot drops, because if we settle on a main stat and we have a weapon type, other classes can use that as well. Let's just go with swords. I mean, there is for example, prot warriors can use one-handed swords. Frost DK can use one-handed swords. The prot paladin can use one-handed swords. So
it would be really cool if we implement the shield, but not as a defense kind of thing, but as a weapon.
True.
Which they did use, like strike them and.
You do that as a prot warrior as well. You have like shield slam, for example.
Yeah, but it's pushing him away in a way. It's like
pushing him away. Have you ever played prot warrior? It's like constantly making.
Yeah, but that's like a slam in a way.
I mean, you.
I mean, like push. holding it, like this, and bam,
Captain America
hitting
style.
me like on the edge, clank. That's a little different.
Yeah, no, there's no animation for that, at least not that I know of.
I mean, we're inventing something. Why not invent that too?
I mean, okay. But so, the shield is directly linked to tanks, so I guess the shield has to be reserved for the tank. Okay, so DPS thing, dual wield, swords, axes, maces. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we're clear on that. What would you implement as a theme? Because specs have a theme associated to it, like Frost DK, Unholy DK, Fire Mage, Frost Mage, that would be the most obvious ones. So it's still a Viking, but what makes a Viking a Berserker? Like, what does he specialize in?
So Berserkers are like elite warriors. They know no fear, right? So the berserk thing on the warrior is basically the thing that should fit here. So it's like frenzied screams and just going in without any regard for your own life. Just massacring everything you see. That's a berserker, but he is also smart and very agile. So, how would you implement that into the game? I mean, you're more of like a technical side of the game. I'm more of a. It looks cool.
I would actually implement a resource that gets built over time. I do not have a name for that resource because it's very, very difficult to find a name for it. But most of your attacks build up that resource. There's no ability that spends that resource to deal damage. But what I would do is give them stances. And those stances are related to animals that are known to be associated with Vikings, like wolves and bears and stuff.
Bears,
And
yes.
whenever
yes.
they fill up that bar, at any given point they can decide to switch into that stance and give themselves a buff that drains that resource, but the stance determines what you do more. So a wolf, for example, could be linked to bleeding damage, for example, periodic damage, fast attacks, very agile, maybe give them a short dash to maneuver
That's
around.
good, yeah.
So it's just a timed buff that gives them abilities, or basically transforms previous abilities to the ability that is linked to that animal, and that could work for the wolf as, like I said, periodic damage, dashes around. If you go into like the bear, you could be like more of a heavy hitter, slow attacks, maybe even get something in that wasn't there before, or implement attack the new style of attacks with the channeled stuff. So if you charge up your attack, there was a really good effect for a specific set within the Elder Scrolls Online that gave you a chance to proc some sort of ghost bear that just stood up and did like a very big downward slash onto the enemy. You could do that as well and maybe have it as like a charged attack. That would be quite fitting. I can't really think of a third animal I would implement in that style.
Maybe it would be the raven, but I don't know if it would fit.
No,
I think the two would be enough. You know,
yeah,
just if you're calling it a berserker, the berserkers were predominantly bears and wolves.
But
I don't think there was a third option.
If we go with all the different specs, I would actually say give them just one stance. I would just call it stance for now. There's no special name I could give it right now. Just give them the wolf thing and leave the bear for the tanks and the raven for the healer. That would make more sense. That would make more sense.
That would make a lot of sense, yeah.
Yeah. So you would have a playstyle that would be bursty in DPS. You could plan ahead because you are not forced to use that stance. You would overcap your resource, obviously, but for the sake of handling mechanics more appropriately, you could just wait until you pop that stance and then make sure, okay, you definitely have your full duration of whatever it might be. Let's just say 20 seconds. You have 20 seconds where you can definitely dish out as much damage as possible because you can stay in that stance for as long as possible, and you can make different nuances to it, like for example giving you spells that or skills that could counter the degeneration of that resource so you can stay in that stance longer, so it gets more of a skill based thing of how long can you stay in that thing. Shadow Priest used to be like that in Legion, where they had the Insanity Drain with the Surrender to Madness talent, and when they went out of Insanity they just died, which would not be a thing for the Viking, just doesn't make any sense for them to die there. But have them something like to counter that. And that could be a base, because you do have to think of the first few levels you would be without a spec, so it has to work in like a base stance. So, or a base functioning class. So giving the specs that specific animal stance would be just a spec thing. But they could introduce all the abilities before and just give you not the option to transform into anything. I would just have you, okay, here's the resource, here are the spells. That's how it could function. They could introduce it like, listen, here, that's the wolf thing, that's how it works. You could play for it for a bit. Here's the bear thing, here's the raven thing. And the bear thing could work exactly like that, like you get Okay, I want to hear your take after this, because you already agreed on the wolf thing and the DPS side. When you are a tank and you are a bear, or in that bear stance, you become slow. Bear is not really known to be like instantly fast. They can run really fast, but it takes them it takes a bit of time. So you would be slower. You would get a big armor increase, and you have a lot of hard-hitting attacks that even the animations change on the stance, or whether you have your stance active or not. And I would leave out the channeling thing for tanks. It just wouldn't feel right. But you could make stuff like regeneration a big part, power through damage is a big part for bears, slower attacks is a big part.
Like an embrace pain kind of thing.
Yeah, well, warriors have ignore pain, so you have to work around that to not have it double. What also works, and I would directly steal that idea from Diablo 2, the druid there was able to shift into a werebear. So you had a werewolf and you had a werebear. And you had skills that are only usable as a werewolf, then you had skills only usable as a werebear, and you had skills that could be used by both. And there was an ability called Hunger that dealt damage and healed you for 100% of the damage dealt. So you could do stuff like you have very hard-hitting, constantly slowing effects on your attacks when you are in your bear stance. You have the regen effects, the leech effects, the increased armor. So they would be another tank that would be really good for physical mitigation, as is the Prot Warrior right now, and would suffer against magic damage, but I would see that fitting. So those would be the corner points. High armor, high self-healing, but slow attacks, slow movement. So mostly suited for physical.
So you would make the bear berserker like a tank in a way.
Basically, yeah. So you have the DPS spec with the wolf, and the tank spec with the who is using a shield would have the bear stance.
Yeah, that could work. That's good, yeah. And the DPS spec, as you said, is the wolf, yeah. That works, yeah. That really works.
Actually, quite a good idea.
Yeah. That fits. They didn't use only one-handed weapons or two-handed weapons. They also used shields, so it works. And it's kind of cool, yeah.
And since it's just a class made up from scratch, you could get your wish in of having shield attacks implemented. It could work.
That thing hurts, by the way. Don't ask how I know. Yeah, that would be really cool to see.
Whenever I think of one of the weirdest implementations of Vikings, I always have to think back to a strategy we had to use in Final Fantasy III. There was a Viking as well as a job, and how the gearing system worked in a way that you had a main hand and an offhand, but you weren't limited as to what you put in your main and offhand, so you could equip 2 shields in your main and offhand. So you had really, really low damage, but you had 2 shields, and the Viking was the only job within the game that was able to taunt. So the only thing you did was provoke, defense, provoke, defense, provoke, and defense. And when I think of a Viking and thinking about just give it a whirl, give it a thought. Don't have a main weapon, just have 2 shields.
Yeah, he would definitely do that. Like, annoy. 100%. He would annoy. It's like, come on. You know, so then probably wear him out. That's what I'm thinking, at least. He would probably do the same thing you just said, and annoy him to the point that he gets so pissed and drained in a way of energy. Then after that, he would probably batter him with a shield or something. You know, that is a strong possibility
I mean,
that would happen.
you would have to design the shields in a way that they always have a pointy end towards the
Yeah,
lower
yeah,
end, so you would actually have to have a better meaning of killing someone with, I mean, you can definitely kill someone with a rounded shield, that's not an issue, but having a pointy end like Captain America had in, for example, Infinity War, what, no, was it? Yeah, the first movie of those, where he got his new shield, and that would work as well. So, but that you can't really just design shields with only the Vikings in mind. You have to have rounded shields for all the other shield users as well. So,
oh
but
yeah,
but
oh yeah.
I could see that. It just would be the weirdest thing ever to have a Viking with two shields in his main and offhand, and like you would have to. There aren't a lot of shield drops within the game to begin with because there aren't a lot of shield users. So
Can you imagine someone running around with the Lordaeron shield, which is a massive thing, or the spiked one? What's it called again? The from the Burning Crusade, the black spiked one.
oh yeah, yeah,
That's a massive shield.
yeah.
So imagine someone going around with two of those. It's basically like a turtle with spikes. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, okay. So
You know.
okay, so we got the DPS spec, we got the tank spec. That's where the different main stats would come in, because for now I guess we could settle on strength for the tank spec.
Yeah.
Just makes it easier for gearing as well later on, because all the shields are definitely strength or intellect, because Holy Paladins use shields as their offhand, and all the other specs that use shields, for example the tanks, all have strength. Question now is DPS spec, agility or strength?
Considering it's a wolfie. Damn it, both would fit. You know?
That's the issue.
Both
would fit.
both would be perfect, but I think agility, considering the Ulfhednar, the wolves, they were extremely agile and fast. It's not like the bear berserker. They were like, you know, just massive hits. It was like, you know, they weren't as, you know, movement specific, and the wolves, I mean the Ulfhednar, the berserkers, the wolf berserkers, were known to be very fast and very agile. So I would say agility, 100%.
Okay.
It would be more of a, let's say, more of a rogue, but with bigger weapons, in a way.
I wouldn't say that, because Outlaw Rogue can use.
Oh yeah, I forgot that. Yeah, but you know,
traditionally
basically.
a rogue only used like fist weapons and daggers. Yeah.
Yeah, but the rogue, like the outlaw spec, basically.
Yeah. Okay.
In a way, that would be the DPS spec, in my opinion. If you're looking at the wolf berserker.
Okay.
100%.
So now is your time. The healer.
My
You
time.
wanted the healer. Now give me the healer. Give me the healer. You have your base of, it's using the Raven stance. Now we have to consider weapons. Main set is clear, it's intellect. But how would he heal? Like, what weapons and how would he heal?
I mean, considering the Vikings, he would be probably a seer.
Okay.
Enchantments like like chants, like how can I say this?
I mean, you in that sense, if you want to use those chants, you could associate or bring in more war cries. That would be, I see that very fitting.
in that kind of way, yeah. But it's more of a chanting thing.
I would call it chant
know-
in that regard. I mean, give the war cries to the DPS and tanks thing, and have them as buffs, either DPS cooldowns, defensive mitigation, whatever it might be. They don't have to be on a long cooldown like the rallying cry, for example, which is like 3 minutes on a warrior. Just give them the wolf's howling or the bear growl or whatever you want to name it, but give them multiple war cries and have him actually shouting like a maniac.
That would be fucking insane. That would be great.
But
I would love that.
There's already one concern I see when it comes to the healer. If you give them chance, it could turn into a bard, and nobody wants a bard within World of Warcraft. So
that's a little bit different. I mean, the bard is. if you look at Jaskier in The Witcher, it's basically like a.
He is
just like a normal
ones, yeah.
just like a normal singer, right?
Yeah.
But like a Viking chant is more of a throat kind of thing. It's like it's a little different, you know.
Yeah.
So it couldn't be treated as a bard, in my opinion, but it would be in a way if you would hear that. It was a little horrifying in a way, you know, if you hear that, like imagine like multiple Viking healers in that raid and just all going, it's insane, you know.
It could get really annoying really fast as well.
Oh yeah, that's true as well, yeah, but
but it's your decision. Whatever you see fit now.
In a way, I would see him like a chant, like doing, like throwing the bones, like trying to see, in a way, you know, the future, whatever it is, but throwing the bones and healing them, whatever, you know, like a little different kind of thing. It's not like all the time.
Not a caster thing, like.
It's more of a, you know, like he's talking to himself in a way, you know, and just tell me what's going to happen, and just throwing the bones and, you know, healing in a way, like in a remote kind of thing, not throwing spells and chucking things, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
right?
I get that. So there's an issue, because healing in MMORPGs is divided into two categories. You have reactive healing. So think of your Holy Priest. You see damage coming, the damage is taken, you heal that damage back. Or you do proactive healing, which is basically the Discipline Priest with his shields. He knows the damage is coming, he does the shields before the damage is there, and prevents the damage from being taken by applying the shield first. How would you see your healer?
The first option, probably.
Reactive, so
More
damage gets taken
reactive.
and you heal it back.
Yeah, that's more fitting, in a way.
Okay.
Because in a way, you still have the berserkers that are like, you know, massive machines of war, defensive, like the bears, right? So the reactive thing would fit in a way.
And
because those guys can get a lot of damage in, you know, and just sustain it.
Okay.
Pretty well.
How would you then implement the stance thing? So we settled on the stance is the Raven. What would the Raven... So you activate your stance for the Raven. What would the Raven do now? Like, what would change?
Maybe give them like a shield, like doesn't the priest have like the bubble, like a massive bubble?
The power word shield.
that thing like it in a similar way, but maybe give them like an area where they become maybe faster, like increases their
Movement speed.
movement speed or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
That could work, like healing them or giving them a shield, but as long as they are in there, in a way, like protecting them, but giving them the added speed, that would work in a way, I think. I mean, you're more of a technical guy, but I'm thinking more of how the ravens can be implemented in considering what they meant to the Old Norse in a way.
So
Trying to at least. Yeah.
if we use the idea of the chance and bones and foreseeing stuff, I would sum it up as a reactive, very stationary healer that gets access to a few different chants that are all AoE. I would not make a single ability of that healer in that situation a single target healer. He would be strictly AoE, that would be based on range, with maybe one or two options for the bones throwing to have specifically targeted AoEs to heal. But when it comes to single target healing, that's where I would that is the moment where I would bring in the Raven, because you have one ghost that you are channeling, which is the Raven. The Raven is portrayed as a very intelligent animal, and Odin, and correct me if I'm wrong, Odin uses Raven as his eyes wherever he is.
Yes.
So
exactly.
You would throw around those ravens.
Scouts, let's say that.
And he had many of them. He didn't have just one, he had a lot of them. So you would place stuff like regenerating effects, shielding effects, and strong single target heals onto your allies, but only one ally can be targeted by one Raven at a time until its effect disappears. So you have to make very tactical choices depending on the situation as to what you need. For example, you could use the shielding effect of a Raven on the tank if you know damage is coming. If you see someone with a dot, you could counter the dot with the regenerating effect. Someone took just a big hit of damage.
That's good, yeah.
You heal them with the Raven, but they all get a little. Either the buff has a duration, like the dot or the shield, and you have to wait until those effects disappear to use a Raven on them again. Or in case of the strong single target heals, they would get a debuff, like you can't be targeted by a Raven ability for the next 10 seconds. I would not completely replace all of your chants with Raven abilities. Give them one or two chants still to have healing available when someone is having a debuff from a Raven and they still need healing. That could happen as well. But you would have to make very tactical choices. You would have very strong healing for a certain amount of time, but you have to decide what ability do I use on what ally, and consider that there will be a debuff or a duration tied to it. And if you need if you need AoE, very strong AoE healing on your in your Raven stance, I would give them the option to prematurely end the stance and send out a lot of Ravens to all the allies in your nearest vicinity, and you can decide, like, give them 3 buttons to end the stance. Might be a bit of button bloating, but that is more of a technical side now. Just give them 3 buttons. You end your stance prematurely. Based on how much time was left, you either do a strong healing effect, a strong regeneration effect, or a strong shielding effect. That's it. You just end your stance, the stance has a cooldown, and whatever it says, like you have 15 seconds left, you make those 15 seconds increase the amount of healing it does, or the amount of regeneration it does, or the amount of shielding it does. But you still have a very strong AoE option within your stance that is actually mostly focused on single target stuff.
That's good. That's why you're the technical guy.
I'm just making sure that well, there's not a lot of lore tied to the ravens, I guess. I mean, it's a pretty simple concept when you look at the ravens from Odin. I mean, there's not a lot to it. They're scouts. I mean,
they're scouts. Yeah, like Hugin and Munin, basically, like memory and mind is the name, right? So they were bringing him messages of Midgard, of what's happening down there and stuff like that, or bringing messages from him to the people of Midgard, you know. So it's kind of fits. Maybe Odin just sent some power of his, you know, down there to protect the people of Midgard, or the fighters, whatever they are, right? So it could fit really well, actually. So. Yeah, you're the technical guy. You're more of the how the spells work and stuff, but I could see that happening, and it's kind of cool, you know.
It sounds actually pretty cool, yeah.
The chants, and everything else is just beautiful. It kind of fits, you know. But yeah, if you're talking about the Jaskier type of thing, it would be a skald.
No, I wouldn't want that.
But I wouldn't even put that in, you know.
No.
Maybe put them in a house somewhere in the world, you know, so they can yell whatever they want to yell there. So that's basically it. But yeah, I think that's good. That could be really good. I would play that.
You dodged cool one question though. What weapons?
Which one? What weapons? A staff, 100%.
Okay.
A dagger and an offhand.
What offhand?
Just I don't know, a book. A book.
Did they use books?
No, they didn't use books, but
I could imagine something like a skull if they throw bones around.
Yeah, maybe, or like smaller bones, like knuckle bones in a way, on a string, and just. You know?
Yeah, okay.
Having that in hand.
Okay.
I would go with that. I wouldn't go with a sword. I wouldn't go with a mace. Because I don't think they fought at all. They were more of a
behind the scenes
spiritual thing, and, you know, doing rituals and stuff like that. They weren't like fighters, you know. It's not like the Templars. They were monks and also fighters. That's not gonna happen in that society. So yeah, I would see a dagger for sure, you know, if nothing else for the rituals. I would see a skull, like you said, that would fit, or maybe tiny bones on a string or whatever it is, like an offhand, and a staff. 100%. More than that, I don't think so. I don't think the shield would fit, or swords, or an axe, or you know.
What about
they wouldn't fit?
You said what? Dagger as well. Did you say dagger?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dagger,
yeah. Okay. Last thing we have, and then we should be done, is the names. We dodged the names so far. We could let's start off
with the list.
Let's start off with what would the name of a class be?
DPS class?
No, the class, not the spec. Like you have Death Knight, you have Mage, you have Druid. You're not a balanced Druid when you start, or not a Frost Death Knight. You are a Death Knight or Druid. What would the name of the class be?
Oh god. You can't straight up just name them Viking.
But there aren't
Right.
any Vikings. The Vikings are called Vrykul. But you can't be a
Yeah.
Vrykul because a Vrykul is also a race. That is really,
Yeah, that-
really
that-
hard.
That's yeah. A Midgardian. No, not gonna be. That's really hard to implement.
The
Is there
Vrykul
like a-
and Valajar are also tied to the Titan Forged very closely. So
Yeah,
we could.
I
make-
was actually thinking about that just now. You know, is there anything that was in the Legion era where you had the Odin's Hall and everything else? Is there anything that was closely related to Odin, with the gods up there?
If you had
like
the
the
gods name
Valhalla-
mentioned as names like Elia, Freya, Heimdall. That was about that.
What are they, like the Valajar, the Vrykul?
The Vrykul are like the base humans in that sense, and the Valajar are the ascended guys sitting in Odin's Halls of Valor.
Yeah, but you can't use that. That's the thing.
Just name it Valar.
That could be good.
That could work. And
could
that
work.
makes it more fitting if you wanna name it if you wanna say I'm not a Valar, I'm like a Berserker Valar, because you obviously already settled on the name for the DPS spec,
Yeah.
which is the Berserker.
One of them.
Yeah. Okay. So we would name the class Valar.
Okay.
So you're actually gonna write this down?
It's, yeah. Yeah. It's notes.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay.
And the first spec was the DPS one.
Yeah.
With the agility, right?
Yeah.
So basically, if they are wolves, the correct term would be Ulfhednar. But can we put that in? No, probably right.
And there's no
Probably not.
copyright on that, but it doesn't.
So-
The name doesn't exist within World of Warcraft lore.
Yeah, it doesn't fit. That's the thing.
Yeah, that as well. But I guess if we're gonna use the tactic of splitting up names, you have Ulf Hetnar. Is that two words like Ulf and Hetnar, or is it how's it constructed?
I think the wolf is basically Ulf. I'm not sure.
Okay,
I
So-
think the translation is wolf head or something.
so
I think, but I'm not. Don't take me seriously on that because I'm not sure about that. But I think I read it somewhere. So basically, the connection would be in a way because they wore wolf heads, right?
So-
it's just kind of logical in a way, but
So I wouldn't settle on a name right away. Just two options here. The first option is make it plain and simple. Name it Berserker. That's it. That's the first way.
yeah.
Second way is actually finding out if there is a word for wolf in any language spoken in those northern or Viking related parts of Azeroth. That could work as well, because there are different languages. You have Common, you have Undead, you have Draenei.
What's
Those
the
languages
name
don't
of
really
the-
exist anymore.
what's the name of the stray wolves in Northrend? You kill a lot of wolves there. The NPCs. The
Warg? Warg?
Works. Was it a work?
I mean, you have Vargs. Those were the hounds they used in Lord of the Rings. The orcs use those, but I don't see that fitting.
Uh,
I
I'm
mean,
actually gonna Google that.
we can definitely do research afterwards. I would just leave
Yeah.
that open because that makes it easier to name the other specs as well in that sense. If you stay with names or stick with names coming from that language, and they are basically just the name of that animal, so you would have bear Valar, but bear just in that language, and you have raven Valar in that language as well, which is the easiest way to name it, simply because they are named after their stands. But if we go the other way with the Berserker, for example, so we just have the Berserker Valar, what would you name the bear and raven?
Oh, basically the berserker is a bear. It's a berserker in a way.
Oh,
The
nice word joke.
So yeah, that's interesting. So the name for bear is Bjorn, actually.
Okay, but that doesn't work. That
That
simply
doesn't
wouldn't.
work. Yeah, that doesn't work. Damn it.
Um,
We're getting to the juicy parts. You know.
you can't go anything with protect because that is already used way too often. Guardian doesn't work as well because Guardian Druid is a thing and Guardian Druid is the bear. But what would be related to defense things in Vikings?
Defense. Yeah, I'm thinking.
The Defender could work. The Defender Valar.
Defender Valar. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I could see that. It's probably not the best idea, but it could work. You... Vanguard?
Or you can name the. Yeah, actually, you can name the Wolfie, the DPS. You can name him Raider, and the defense guy, the Berserker.
Could work as well. True, true. That could work as well as a workaround. But then we have the Raven.
The Raven, the Seer.
Seer? Oracle?
Oracle, yeah. Oracles are more of a Greek thing, I think. But yeah, Oracle could work.
Yeah.
Oracle or Seer. Right?
Yeah, I think so.
But also a shaman, but that doesn't work. I mean, it wouldn't fit in the WoW lore thing. I mean, WoW lore. You already have the shaman, so that doesn't work.
Exactly, but I guess Seer is probably a good option.
I think it would be the best one, to be
Yeah,
honest. That's
probably.
the Seer.
Yeah. And what would be the Nordic name for Raven?
Oh god, you got me there.
Woof.
You got me there. I actually don't know the Nordic name for Raven.
I don't know either. You're the Nordic guy, I'm just the technical guy.
Oh jeez, you got me there. I really don't know that.
You need to do your homework. No, that was way too specific. That was way too specific.
I never have even thought about that. I have no idea. I actually don't have an idea what the Nordic name for a raven is.
Well, wouldn't really matter anyways because we couldn't use it as a name for the spec.
Yeah.
The only thing we have dodged both so far is the name of the resource.
Oh god, we saved that one for the last.
I still can't think of a name. I still can't.
Oh. So there would be like 3 resources or 2 resources. Like we have one for the DPS and one for the DPS, one for the tank, and one for the
No, they are all shared.
healer.
No,
All shared. Okay.
They all work on the same principle. The stance they use is different. So they all have one
okay.
bar that fills up with
yeah,
abilities, and then gets drained with using the stance.
That's good. Wait, give me a sec. I have to think about that one. That's actually a really hard one. Uh,
Spiritual connection, something on that theme. Not necessarily as a name, but just as a theme, because they are connecting with their spirit animal. What would work in that sense? Connection sounds stupid as a resource. It really does. Like, how much connection do you have?
yeah, true.
Oh. Link doesn't work. Relation doesn't work. Insight?
Closer.
It's closer, but
closer.
still not really. Doesn't really hit the spot.
Insight is closer. That's actually a good one, but so all of them draw power from the animals connected to them.
Power.
And
Just have power then.
just use the power.
That will be really funny for people that use add-ons like Elf UI, and when you activate your alternate power bar, and you have your power bar, and you have your alternate power bar. Never mind.
Wait. Oh god.
Favor!
What about... Huh?
The favor of the gods. Or favor of your animals. That would work.
What about this?
Okay.
Aesia's favor. Aesir is basically the pantheon of the gods of like the Odin, Helya, whatever.
Yeah.
They're the Aesir.
Yeah.
So maybe that would be...
So we could either name it just favor or the Aesir favor, whatever the pronunciation is. I always fun fact, in God of War they say Aesir, not like you pronounce it. I'm not sure which way is
Aesir.
right.
Yeah, basically it's Aesir. It's
okay.
The A with the E like connected. I don't know how to say that. Aesir's favor. That's kind of cool.
That would work. Yeah, that would work. I mean. The animals are...
You phased out there, I can't hear you. I don't know why.
Test. Now I'm here. I'm still here. Don't worry, and people can still hear you. Yeah, favor would work. Favor would definitely work as a resource. And now we have technical issues.
I can't hear you.
Oh boy.
I think we need to restart this.
Restart? Oh boy. Well, we're almost done anyways. I can't really message him though, because... Yeah. Anyways. I guess that's about it. Since we have technical issues right now, I don't know what he's doing. Worked just fine. 1 hour and 20 minutes it worked fine. No, it doesn't anymore. So, we're gonna make it here as a stop. We got everything done, actually. Let's see if Brax actually interpret signals. If I make this...
Oh.
Can you hear me now?
I got you back.
Oh boy, I was about
now I can.
I was about to try you and say, let's see if he can interpret signals if I just keep on talking.
I heard that.
Yeah, good. So I think we got everything now. We got every little detail covered. At least that could be a class for now. We got everything, unless you have something you wanna add.
I don't think so. I think we nailed we hit the nail on the head there.
Pretty much.
I would play that. For sure.
It definitely sounds great.
More than the what's it called again? The Dractyr.
Yeah, the Evoker is the new class.
Oh
that
yeah,
fears the
that's
race.
kind of, I don't know. I mean, I was stoked for them, putting out the different flying styles in a way or whatever that is. That's kind of cool. The new world looks cool and everything, but when I saw the track there, was like, I'm gonna stick to my old ones. I'm gonna leave that alone. I don't know why. It's not for me. So
Not for me either.
the
No worries.
the Valar is basically something that I would definitely play.
Yeah, same. Because it's melee. I like melee.
Actually, yeah, yeah. I actually played a warrior in Legion just because of the class hall.
Yeah, I can see why. I played Warrior as well. I didn't play Legion for that long because I didn't really like it, but I did play Fury Warrior most through Legion. And it was really cool. It was really cool.
Oh, I loved it. Yeah, it was great. I remember playing the warrior back then, and the guys in the old guild were basically, when we were playing a lot of rated battlegrounds, right? And every time there was a running healer, when shit goes all to hell, and there's always one running away. It was like, Brax, get him. It's just jumping over him, it's like slashing the hell out of him. It's always the same thing. I love that. So yeah, I would definitely play something like that, like frenzied warrior kind of type of thing, like
Oh yeah.
Viking,
Oh,
Valar.
With all the battle cries. Oh yeah, that would be great. Yeah, that's true. But I guess we are at an end now. We're 1 hour and 26 minutes in already. So we had a lot to talk about today. but it was a pretty extensive topic. Try to come up with mechanics and an idea for a class out of the blue, and well, I guess we got it. We got a pretty good. We did a pretty good job here when it just comes to being creative for a class.
I mean, your technical side is just the thing that pushed it forward in a way.
True. Yeah.
It's like, I think this looks cool. Put that in. That's
but it has to work. You don't wanna. You don't wanna have a one-shot thing. Like, I mean, yeah, I could just imagine having throwing an axe something and it kills it instantly. It looks cool, yeah, but it's not really satisfying gameplay.
Throwing an axe, killing somebody, and adding a laughing yell or whatever,
It's not like you're gonna run around in an arena and have the choo-choo emote tied to every skill you're using.
Can you imagine the immense trolling that would be if you would do that? That would be way too much.
I can imagine it. I don't want to imagine it because it's PvP. No. Alright. Folks, I hope you found this as entertaining as we did it. It was actually quite interesting to brainstorm those ideas. And even though we will never see something like that, we can still dream. So...
I mean, I have the list here and Blizzard is getting it, so...
But the good thing is,
we'll see.
We got World of Warcraft covered now. I think we're done with World of Warcraft when we look at it, and we can safely move on to our next topic, which we will discuss. Oh, I got it. This week, and we will bring you a new episode by the time we actually got figured out what we're gonna talk about next. I don't think it will be too hard because there are a lot of games we have covered in our first episode. But until then, we wish you all a great time. Stay safe. Bye.
And remember,
Oh,
no horns on the helmets.
Brax has spoken. No horns on the helmet.
Just kidding. Have fun, guys.
See ya.